Hey, fellow Game Masters, welcome back. I'm Richard Quiner, and you're back at the RPG Daily, and today we have another different video. By the time you see this video, I'm going to be out in the middle of nowhere at a Ren Fair campground participating in my first LARP, and so I decided to do a more casual. I'm trying to do more of these videos where you get to just see a little bit of what's going on in my life and the things I'm working on. So let me show you a little bit of what's up with this LARP. So the LARP is called Twin Mask, and it is Southern California based, Los Angeles, that's where I'm at. It's about an hour outside of town, and it's big. As far as I've seen, they're expecting about 300 players at this game. It takes place in a permanent structure, kind of Renaissance fair ground. So already it's pretty neat, but in order to participate, of course, you have to come up with a character. You have to have something because it is a LARP. It's a role-playing. I am not the game master of this one. I'm just another player. So let me tell you about my character I came up with. Okay, so I decided to sit down and explain a little more about my character in this upcoming LARP because I think it's interesting, and I think the decision to LARP is a good exercise in making characters and creating characters, and it can also be useful in tabletop role-playing games as well. With Twin Mask, the big defining factor of all the characters in the LARP is that they've all died at one point in their character's history. And they're returned from the dead, and they all call them all the Returned. That's like the name of the people. So my character, his name is Kearney Gallagher, and he is a person from the world of Kestrel, or the land of Kestrel, which is essentially a Ireland, Scotland kind of area. It draws from the Celtic kind of aesthetic, I guess. The main drawing point was that you could wear a kilt. I have a kilt, so that's easy, for costume stuff. But then I had to think of, for building the character, I had to think of how do I want this character to act in the world that he's getting into? How do I want his history to define him a little more? And then come up with some story elements based on that. And that was kind of the challenge for me, was I wanted him to come into the world a certain way. And so I was like, okay, I need to build his backstory a certain way to make that make sense. So here's a kind of a brief overview of his backstory. And it's not fully fleshed out with all the details, because part of the game is you can choose to have a clouded or a fractured memory, which means you don't always remember everything from your past life, and you slowly piece that together, and I like that idea quite a bit. So essentially, my character, he would have been born poor, like a farmer's son kind of thing, who just works the farm all the time and stuff. But then raiders would come to Kestrel. That's part of their enemies, which there are the raiders of this group. They're called Vikings, which are essentially Vikings. Show up in this country. His dad goes to fight and ends up dying in these battles. Word gets back to his family, to Kearney and his mother, that the dad has died. The mother decides she can't handle it anymore and offs herself. So that's set up this pretty tragic start to this character, and I do kind of like that in characters where they are broken originally, but they have room to change and kind of heal and mend. I think is an interesting storyline or a character arc. From there, the character later, in trying to make a better life for himself or just survive, he would join the Navy as well and get involved in fighting these Vikings and having participating in the wars, which gives him a little bit of a military rank. That's part of his character trait in the game, is he has some military rank going on coming into it, which helps him. But in one night, caught in a storm, he would have been thrown from the boat he was on and not saved by his crew members. So was that his death? No, that wasn't. He actually got picked up by another boat that was passing by or something. That is where a kind of a fractured memory could be, of he doesn't exactly know what happened in that time where he thought he was dead. But then he finds himself running with another crew, this time more privateers, people who aren't military, but they still help protect the country by going around and fighting the Vikings and stuff. they have kind of a scam going on that they would do, where they would watch a ship, a Vikol raiding ship or something, let them ransack a town, then they would go fight the ship and kind of rescue all the town's stuff from the Vikols, and then return it to the town minus, their share. And then, of course, the town would give them some more as a reward because that's what they were so grateful for. Then that idea turned to, well, it's kind of a scummy thing to do, being fake heroes and stuff, it's kind of shady. But then, of course, he would have to get into gambling. I think that's something... I haven't played a character who's a gambler yet. I personally don't gamble much. I don't gamble in my real life, so that's one thing I wanted to push, would be that. He would get into gambling debt that would then come back to haunt him and his crew as they're traveling around, and so, of course, the crew had to get rid of him, and that is when he dies, when his crew turns on him one night in an alleyway, as he's racked up too much gambling debt, and he's drawing too much attention to himself and his crew, and so he's got to go. That's the end of it. In terms of bringing the character into the world of Twin Mask and his life, we'll kind of see how things go. He's going to be an archer, he's going to be carrying an axe. It's kind of a weird combination, but that's what I decided to do for this, for now at least. And because I have a tendency, I'm kind of a shy person in new groups. It takes a little bit for people to get to know me. I'm going to attempt to do a more outgoing character right at the front. Someone who talks a lot more. Maybe he still has a gambling problem. Maybe he, just puts his nose in other people's business. The character build in terms of skills and stuff, he is going to be more in tune with the underworld is kind of the idea I want to build him into. Someone who, is a little dangerous and he has connections to the underbelly of Port Frey, the town of Twin Mask. So that's my plan, is to do all that and have him be a much more outgoing character, fast talker, kind of schmoozing things. We'll see how it goes, because that's not me normally. Sometimes I can, but normally on like a day-to-day and with people I don't really know, that's very difficult. So that's going to be me getting into character. That's how I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone to get into character for the game. We'll see how it goes. The reason I picked this is because I have a kilt, and that's what they wear. So let me show you a little bit of my costume. I'm working on my costume still building it. And it's a work in progress. So you'll have to pardon the mess here. First, this on the ground, this massive cloth is actually a kilt. And you'll see, if I get close to it, it has all these folds in it. Those are the pleats that kilts normally have. A normal old school kilt is really more just a large piece of fabric that you fold up and then tie with a belt around your waist. The problem with the Larp is that I'm going to be camping. I don't know, well, I know how much space I'm going to have, but I don't know how much time I'm going to have every day when I wake up to put a kilt on. And I don't want to sleep in it. So I decided, this was a task I did yesterday. I laid the fabric out. I put pins in every single pleat. And then I sewed them all up. So I'm cheating. I made a kilt that just always has a pleat in it. So when I need to wear it, I can lay it out a lot faster, throw my belt on, and I'm good to go and get on with my day. I had so much extra cloth from making that kilt, because when I bought the kilt, I bought way too much fabric, that I'm actually making a second one. I call this my hot weather kilt. It's just a regular kilt. It's just more like a skirt, where the full kilt has kind of a top part that goes over as a sash. Anyways, that's just what I'm gonna wear. And I have a whole outfit. I got these boots from Amazon. Ugh. They're cheap plastic boots, but they look a little piratey, a little Renaissance, so I'm going to be using those. The next part of that, though, is to decide the skills that your character has. So my character, I picked a couple skills. I didn't want to be too combat heavy at first, but then I ended up being more combat heavy than I thought I was going to be. So I went and I did an archer, one-handed kind of character. So let me show you my weaponry a little bit. First, I decided I was going to be an archer, which I don't know if that was dumb or not. But this is my bow. I picked up, it's about $60 on Amazon. It's a horse bow, and it's not strung right now because you just don't leave your bow strung. Do I know archery very well? No, not really. But I'm learning with this. And then I signed up for the Archers Guild of the game, so I'm participating in that in the community as well. These are a work in progress. You can see the arrows are these foam tips. This one's a little lopsided. The whole point of these is so you don't hurt somebody, but these ones are not exactly game safe yet, so I have a lot of work to do to replace some of the foam on here and do some more work to make them safer and so they don't hurt anybody and to make them look cooler. Those are my arrows. Then I figured, you know, if someone gets within shooting range, which is 10 feet, you're not allowed to shoot people if you're within 10 feet, which, that's fair, that's safe. So then I decided to get a different weapon to have a single, you know, handheld weapon for it. And well, this isn't what I originally wanted, but this is my axe. Originally I wanted a boarding axe, which is about, I think you can see at the distance, don't mind the Jedi and the flowers, I have weird things on the walls. It's about 3 feet long. I originally wanted one that was more closer to 2 feet long, but there was nowhere I could get that in time for the game because everywhere was sold out for that axe because it was just so cool. But then I found this one and I kind of like the look of it, so this is what I'm taking. I hope it passed safety tests. It seems like it'll be nice and pillowy and soft to hit people with. But the point of the game also is it's not super heavy it's not a super heavy combat game is what I'm going for. So the actual combat is not wailing on people with your LARP weapons. It's more about being tactical and trying to out-fence and out-maneuver your opponent rather than just beat them into submission with your weapon. So I think I'm going to be okay with what I got. Still got to do some work on the arrows. Something else I want to talk about, and my thought process was I'm going through certain struggles right now leading into this LARP, and believe me, it is as nerdy as I am. Like, I have Middle-earth maps on my wall. I got nerd stuff coming out the wazoo. As a lot of people do, I still am very going out of my comfort zone to go to this LARP. Largely because I guess the main thing is I don't really have a group of people that I'm going with. I know several of the players, and I know several people have invited me out and said I should come check it out, so I know several of the players, but they're not really a friend group, they're like an acquaintance. One of the guys I played D&D with a couple times, so I'm gonna give him, you know, some referral points for being there, but because he is answering a lot of my questions. But the thing is, I don't have a core group, so I'm very nervous about that. And I'm being completely honest. I am really terrified about going out and trying to get into a game and get into a LARP mindset. And it's weird. So I guess I'm saying this to encourage people to say, you know, you might like it. It might be easier for you. Everyone has their own struggles. I have no problem going and sitting down at a D&D table full of strangers and playing. I've done that several times. I'm okay with that. So I'm trying to put myself in that mindset of like, oh, I'm just going to play D&D. I'm going to play a regular role-playing game. Except the twist side is I'm supposed to be in character all the time doing that. My actions are not determined by rolling the dice. And of course, like, because I'm a human and this is what we do, we think about other people's opinions of us sometimes, so I do worry a little bit about being there and being, you know, not good enough as a player, or being, like, what if I hit someone too hard and they're like, you know, they get in my face? Those kind of concerns are something that's actually in the back of my head all the time. I'm just saying this so you think about, you know, if LARPing's something you've wanted to try it. I'll do another video afterwards to tell you how it actually turns out, because I'm pretty sure my mind and my mental state is making it worse for me than it actually is. And that's the reason I'm super gung-ho. I've put money into this and I'm pushing myself very hard to just go, because I could easily just wake up tomorrow morning and say, nah, I'll just hang out in town. You know, I won't go. But I don't want to do that because it's an experience I haven't had before. It's something I want to try. And in my opinion, it relates perfectly to this channel because it is role-playing games. Think about that just as a life lesson, you know. Step out of your comfort zone and try something new. I guess we'll see how it goes. if this video is uploaded, which it should be, that means I will be out there on site. Because I'm going to try to make this go up on Saturday. Expect a recap next week as I talk about it. Because I'm going to go. I'm definitely going to go. I'm not just going to wake up tomorrow and not go. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching.